Good morning, class. I am about ready to read you our Bible story for this week. I love this Bible story because it makes me think of how creative God is. He created all the animals. He had to think of a giraffe that had that really long neck. He had to think of an elephant that had the really long nose. He had to think of each tiny little bug. He had to think about like the soft feeling that a kitty cat would have. He had to think about those big teeth and claws on a tiger. He is so creative. Our God is so creative and amazing. So let's read our story this week that I know you guys have already been studying, but mine has a little bit more detail. God was making a beautiful world for people to enjoy. He started by making light so we could have day and nighttime. On the second day, he made the air, the sky, and the clouds. On the third day, God made the dry land appear. There were tall trees and flowers and all kinds of good things to eat. On the fourth day, God made the sunshine and the daytime and the moon and the stars in the nighttime. Our world was quiet and empty, but God wasn't finished yet. On the fifth day, God said, "Let the skies be filled with all kinds of birds." And immediately there were birds of every size and color and shape. There were birds flapping their wings as they flew through the sky, and some that ran on the ground, and some that even swam in the water. There were birds that were singing, and birds that were chirping, and birds that were squawking. Then God said, "Let the waters be filled with all kinds of living things." And immediately the oceans, lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams were filled with all kinds of fish and water animals. God made whales and dolphins and seahorses that live in the ocean. He made starfish, sea urchins, and hermit crabs that live in the tide pools. He made catfish, bass, bluegills that live in the lake. God made salmon and rainbow trout and sturgeon. God thought of all the different kinds of fish in the water, and he made them all in one day. God looked at all the different types of birds and fish that he made and said, "These things are good." On the sixth day, God let the earth be filled with all kinds of animals. He spoke, and suddenly there were large animals, small animals, and even creeping, crawling animals. He made animals that live in the trees, and animals that live in caves, and even animals that build their houses in the water. God made animals that squeak, that growl, animals that make sounds we can't even hear. God looked at all these animals that he had made and said, "This is good." God was pleased with the animals he had made, but he wasn't finished yet. The most important thing of all, God saved to make very last. Our world wasn't quiet anymore. God made our beautiful world to be all filled with birds and animals. He had thought of where each one would make their home and the type of homes that they would live in. He gave each one the ability to have babies just like themselves. Only God could do that. This is why the Bible tells us God made the world and everything in it in Acts 17:24. Do you guys know what the last thing is God created? He created people. We were the most important thing that he was going to create, and so he saved the best for last. All right, I hope you guys had fun this week learning about all the animals that God created and the different types of homes that they would live in and the different types of sounds that they would make. I love animals. I can't wait to get to heaven and see all the different types of animals and be able to touch them and play with all of them. I think it'll be so fun. I hope that you guys think about that too, because it's a fun thing to think about. All right, have a great weekend, everybody.